Hello and welcome to Ars Electronica, actually to Ars Electronica Home Delivery with a special program, a kickoff of the festival, the Ars Electronica Festival 2021. It's our aim today to inform you about the basic ideas, the concept, the theme, the topics of the festival, but also, of course, almost more important, I think, for many of you, how will this festival happen? How will it take place? And of course, one thing for sure I can tell you, the festival will take place. Ars Electronica 2021 will start on September 8th, and in the very successful way of last year, it will be a festival that has a lot of local activities with real artists and real projects and real audiences, not only here in Linz, but in many other places in the so-called Ars Electronica gardens worldwide. And of course, the network between all these partner institutions, the artists, the activists, the scientists, will be another stage, another important platform of the festival. So we try to do it as hybrid as possible, because we think for a festival like Ars Electronica, for the whole area of art and science, media art and media culture, it's not just about to use the digital world as a tool, as a means to broadcast our activities, but of course also as the main topic of our thoughts, of our deliberations, and the way we are trying to contribute to the development of this digital world. And this is actually the topic of this year's festival. It is a new digital deal. How can we fix the digital world, or how the digital world could possibly work? And I think it's totally clear that this is a topic that is of very high relevance for all the people who are working in our field. And maybe we can get the first slide of mine on the screen. I think it's rather my issue. Yeah, now I'm here, sorry for this. And we start this idea about the new digital deal with maybe a kind of strange formula. We say that digitization does not change our world, because I think this is one of the foremost problems that we always have when we think and talk about the digital world, the digital revolution. We are still, even many experts among us, we are still so focused on very typical stereotypes of some of the mythology of the digital revolution, and I think we have to work on it. So it doesn't change the world. Hey, happy. But, and that's the big thing, even more so and more sorrowful, more deeper, it really changes the way how we can and must deal with this digital world and in this digital world. It is completely changing, so to say, the modus operandi of our life. And I think this has much to do with that we have to understand that digitization is something like a special state of aggregation of information. And in the same way as the way how you can treat water, the way how water works is very different whether it's solid, liquid or gas. The same thing happens with the digital world. The moment something is transformed into the digital realm, it's almost like there would be new laws of nature who are governing the way how we can deal with it. So in the same way as water is not changing, also the world is not changing, but as I said, profoundly it is changing what we can do, how we can do it, and of course there is a lot of implications that we have to deal with. What we need to understand to get back in control of this development is, of course, that digital technology is no longer a tool technology. It started to be a new powerful tool, but it has become a very profound transforming cultural technique of our time. And what started in the development as a working environment with machines and devices that were created and designed to do number crunching, word processing, and this kind of work, has now become the universal medium for social activity, interactivity. It itself has become something like a social domain, a social realm, and billions, almost 5 billion people, as we know, are already connected in and with this new social space. And what started as fun and harmless game of exchanging everyday banalities or photos of your cats and dogs has become something like a political battleground, as we have seen in a very dramatic way at the beginning of this year with the really unbelievable things that happened around the storm of the Capitol in Washington. Another important point that was leading to the topic of this festival is, of course, our joint experience. I mean, never before have so many people all over the world at the same time experienced this boost into the digital world. If you'd like it or not, we had to become digital, and more so than ever we have learned in this more than a year now of pandemic and lockdowns the benefits and merits of the digital technology, but also, and maybe even more so, the shortcomings and the deficits. And so when we talk about the new digital deal, it's not about making a trade. It's not about some negotiations and then, well, you know, let's see who gets the better deal out of it. In the literal meaning of the word, it's about how are we going to deal with these new realities. And the interesting thing is, deal actually comes from dividing, from part. It's the old German word, Teil, that is the roots of deal. And all of you who are playing card games or visiting casinos know that a new deal there means redistributing, giving out a new round of cards. And maybe this is what we have to be mostly concerned of. How can we redistribute the responsibilities and the benefits and the competences of this digital world? It will not be possible to fix the digital world and just say, okay, we can leave this to our governments and maybe they can make a deal with the big industry moguls, with the huge conglomerations and monopolies. It is something where we need to work on building up skills and expertise. And I like the word competence very much, because competence is ability, but also feeling the responsibility. Competence means you are assigned to deal with something. And this is something that we just have to take on. And the question what roles we all have in this, again, has become very dominant and visible in the beginning of this year in all the turmoil around the elections and the really unbelievable result. Never before has something that started as campaigning on social media in online channels developed such a powerful force. And even then, when finally the big social media platform seemed to develop some responsibility and kicked Donald Trump out of their platforms, we were left with a very, very big question, because for many of us it was the moment when for the first time we recognized in such a profound way that the rules, the laws that are governing this public space, this social space, are not the rules and standards of our society. They are individually law that these landlords of the digital domain just pass out as they see it fit. And I think it's really an incredible thing when Facebook kicks somebody off his platform or bans you for at least 24 hours or something. They say it's because you violated the community standards. Well, shouldn't community standards per se, shouldn't they be something that the community developed and that the community agreed on basis of a democratic process, which means an ongoing re-evaluation of standards and values? And shouldn't this be done by all of us, maybe driven initiated by our governments, the people that we elect to take care of our world, of our societies, and not by the companies themselves. But even when we go in this field of individual responsibility and activism, I mean, facial recognition has, for many good reasons, become really one of the super bad guys of the technical arena. But when, after the storm of the Capitol, these videos appeared, and these endless numbers of photos and videos where those people published in total misconception of what's going on their faces, there were immediately a lot of amateurs out there in the network who immediately started to apply their computer skills to scan these videos and use facial recognition to identify the bad guys. Well, maybe in this case we can say it's anyway clear who the bad guys and the good guys are, but we can immediately imagine, whether it's in the case of kicking Trump out of the platforms or in this case, that many, many situations are ahead of us where it won't be so easy to define who is the good guy and the bad guy. And nevertheless, we have to see that all this is happening in a tremendous access and increase of people using, acting, living in the digital space. And this is unfortunately German, but I try to translate it because it's something I really like. We all talk about the Zoom boom. We all talk about how terrible it is to spend all these meetings online. And of course here, Handelsblatt titles, video conferences are on the march forward. They become dominant. And one could think this is actually a headline of our days. But the interesting thing is this is a newspaper from February 2009. So I think we also should be careful that the enthusiasm about the tools that are surrounding us is maybe a little bit too early. We need to develop better tools, better devices, but also much better consciousness, which is part of the cultural technique when something went from a tool technology to a cultural technology. We need to adapt our thinking about it, because otherwise, just another example, or two examples from many cases. In many countries, because of the lockdown, the schools didn't, or the universities didn't work properly anymore. It took them way too long to adapt to the new reality. So they thought, well, maybe we use some AI algorithms to rank the students. And you probably all know these stories. It was, of course, a terrible disaster. So we have definitely a lot of very, very difficult topics to tackle. Digital feudalism. I addressed it briefly. I mean, the idea that just a few private-owned monopolies are dominating not only the digital realm, but are actually dominating it by giving out their individual rules is no longer acceptable, because this is a blunt aggression against democracy. This is way behind the standards of our societies. And it's eroding completely any trust that we can have not only in this technology, but even more so in the people and companies who deliver the digital products and services. To make the digital world work, and even for the sake of business in the digital work, we need trust. A trust that is not hampering innovation, but only enabling it. And the question, who owns the digital world, maybe starts again with dismantling some of the mythological stories of how the digital revolution came together. This idea that there were a few techno samurais in the Silicon Valley, west coast of the US, who in their garages, more or less out of nothing, invented this technology. And then came the brave, risk-taking venture capitalists and put the money into it. And that's why they now justify their claim to own all this digital domain, all this digital world, and all the profit of it. This is not even half of the truth. all this happened because they were building upon research and innovations that were funded by governments, meaning with money of taxpayers, not only here in Europe. The same thing happened in the United States as well as it did in Asia. So there are many, many good reasons why we as civil society, as citizens, as individuals, should claim our right to participate. And of course, the technology can be made differently. Another technology is possible. When we look at the endless efforts and money that is put into fine-tuning some algorithms to suck out every possible information and aggregate it so that it can be sold to Cambridge Analytica and other companies, well, just a fraction of this effort would be enough to make the technology in a way that we have as users of this. We have the ability and the possibility to make sure we have some sovereignty, some control, and some transparency of what's going on with our data. And not at least, I think there are two very important questions: the ecology of the digital world, the carbon footprint, and of course the working conditions in the digital world. And the big question is, why are all these things constantly going wrong? I mean, we have excellent researchers and engineers who develop technology that allows the computer to look at us. And with these algorithms, the computer can recognize whether you are happy or sad even, at least in some cases. Whether you are drowsy and maybe sleepy, or whether you have full attention. And then, when we start to apply this technology, it ends up as a almost cruel surveillance technology in the vans of people who are delivering the parcels and the packages to all the online shoppers, where every little second of their work life is fiercely controlled by the employers. And then, when these people start coming together to create a union, defend and fight for the rights, the richest man on this planet has nothing else to do than accumulating all his influences and power to avoid these people from unionizing and fighting for their rights and getting the rights. These are circumstances that we only know in history from hundreds of years ago of feudalism, and of course also this should be long behind us from the early times of the industrial age. And I think these are examples that show how extremely important it is to really start out to create at least the basis, the discussions, the first attempts for a new digital deal. And this is what we often summarize with the idea of a new digital humanism. And of course, one of the most important things will be the question of education in this digital 21st century. And with this, I would like to hand over now the helm and the table of this press conference to Veronika Liebl. Hello, Veronika. Veronika is responsible for all the management and in particular financial control of the festival, and she will tell us two important things: what's going on here in Linz and the role of collaborations on a European scale that is a very important part of our festival. Please.
Thank you, Gerfried. As you heard, this year we are staging Ars Electronica from 8th to 12th of September together with hundreds of partner institutions all around the globe, locally, globally, and online. Many Ars Electronica gardens, our satellites, will also implement physical programs in their cities, in their regions, of course depending on the local pandemic situations and based on the models we have implemented or we will implement here in the Kepler's garden in Linz. In this way, we really hope that, of course, also this network, not only here in Linz, but all over the world, can support local artists and communities in these difficult times, and hopefully will also allow you and visitors around the world to attend events again in real. An element bringing all of this together will be once again the online program, consisting of live streamings, on-demand contents, videos, social media presence, online interaction possibilities, and a variety of digital and virtual projects. What was quite experimental and honestly maybe even a bit crazy last year takes an evolutionary step this year, thanks also to many joint discussions and evaluations together with partners, artists and visitors. Currently, we are further developing the whole online and streaming program with a focus on interaction, participation and also exchange, because we really want to invite you to develop the new digital deal together with us and invite as many of you also to take part in these discussions. In the upcoming weeks and months, we will for sure receive again hundreds and thousands of inquiries if you should travel to Ars Electronica this year. While we would really, really, really love to welcome all of you again here in Linz, we rather recommend actually to have an eye and look out for gardens near you, and of course also explore the really broad online program. For our regional audiences and all of those who can actually safely travel to Ars Electronica and to Linz, a visit in one of the many festival locations in the city center is highly encouraged. Linz is and will of course also be the hub of the festival. Linz is the regional anchor point city for the program here in the region. It will also be the stage of the festival, and it has also developed during the last decades a wide and intensive network of regional partnerships. In addition to the festival center at the JKU, Johannes Kepler University, we will have many festival venues here also in the city center. In the OK, in the Oberösterreichische Kulturquartier, hosted with our long-standing partner Oberösterreichische Landeskultur GmbH, we will present this year's Cyber Arts exhibition. A selection of the best winning projects from the Ars Electronica will be presented, as well as, for example, the electronic theater in the Sommerkino. In the very center of the city, here on the Hauptplatz, on the main square in Linz, the team of the Kunstuniversität Linz, the Art University, students, artists and professors join forces to present this year's campus format. In addition to the traditional interface cultures exhibition, the program will also include a large show with various international partner universities. Also, a central festival venue will, of course, be the Ars Electronica Center, where 3 new exhibitions await you. And a clear highlight this year will also be the presentations by our Ars Electronica Future Lab on the occasion of their 25th anniversary. Happy birthday on that. The epicenter of the festival in Linz will be the physical and spiritual gardens of the Johannes Kepler University. I'd also like to actually take this occasion to thank the rector Lukas and his whole team for making our presence at the gardens in Linz possible, and for this fantastic cooperation. The beautiful atmosphere at the university is not only ideal for learning, it is definitely perfect, as we know since last year, for a festival visit. But it's not only the location which excites us so much. It is really the cooperation with the Johannes Kepler University, which is a milestone for our festival, and also this interplay of art and science, bringing it to strategic significance. This interplay between art and science is also something we will make visible in the exhibitions at the campus. For example, whether it's the award-winning projects of the European Commission's START Prize, or the results from the collaborative projects from the Linz Institute of Technology. 2 fixed points in Kepler's Gardens are, of course, also once again Creative World, the experimental platform for kids and families, as well as the big concert night in collaboration with the Bruckner Orchestra Linz. And I do have good news for all of you who will not make it to Linz this year. We are trying to make all of these programs and of course also the majority of linked projects accessible for all of you. Maybe that means making it accessible in some different formats to make it digitally accessible. Both in Linz as well as online will also be the presentations and outcomes of our residency programs, which are, despite actually the pandemic, more extensive than ever. The results of these artistic research projects from the last few months will feature projects from renowned artists such as Anna Rittler, Caroline Sinders, Kasia Molga, Moritz Simon Geist, Kate Austin, or Maya Smeka, and many more. These residency programs are all realized as part of the European collaboration project, Bridging Art and Science. And for many years, this is actually exactly also what is called for and funded on European levels. One prominent example is also the STARTS initiative, highlighting the nexus, the innovative nexus of arts, science, and technology. Together with our more than 100 partner initiatives, we are now significantly involved in a number of European networks in the field of culture, research, and education. We really thank also the European Commission and in particular the support through programs like Creative Europe, Horizon 2020 and Erasmus Plus to make also the results of such projects then accessible through the festival. We will present them this year, not only here in Linz, but also online, and discuss, of course, questions together with all these partner networks on the new digital deal. Our European partners in particular, working since many years, even since decades, on questions like re-evaluating our relationships with technologies and how we use them, and those questions could not be more important and relevant for our festival topic. With that, back to you, Gerfried.
Well, thank you very much. You brought us directly to the very important realm of collaborations, in particular of international collaborations. If we think about the New Deal as a new way to distribute, it also means a new way of sharing, a new way of collaborating. And we can actually say that in a certain way we are benefiting from the lockdowns because it really supported the idea to create a large international network and platform. And the head of our festival programming, Christl Baur, is already working very hard and intensely already to communicate with many, many partners who already committed their participation and their contribution this year. Please tell us about it.
Thank you, Gerfried. That's right. It is actually quite interesting that the reach of the Ars Electronica cooperative networks became even more apparent in times of the pandemic. And it might be ironic that last year when worldwide travel restrictions and the lockdown had such an imminent part on our daily life, this would lead the festival in Linz to actually move into the world and become a global festival. We still remember the enthusiasm that the metaphor of the gardens that we introduced last year triggered in the different partner networks, allowing each and every one to be a part of the festival and even bringing in their own networks, making actually decentralization to a key moment of the festival. The first global Ars Electronica became a worldwide event that allowed everyone to participate. And the unbelievable positive response last year from our partners, audiences, but also sponsors and media actually led us into this next step of moving with the same concept forward this year. Although we are still in the very first and the beginning of the festival production, I'm excited to be able to introduce already some of the partners that have confirmed their commitment and engagement in the festival. One of them is the MIT in Boston. Another one is the Hexagram network in Canada, consisting of many universities and research institutions, but also cultural institutions like the important art center in Brussels, Beaux-Arts, as well as actually the Onassis Foundation in Greece are an essential part of the festival. In Barcelona, we will have already again a festival in the festival, consisting of many diverse partners that will organize physical events in the city. And actually, an open call will go out soon, allowing artists to participate in the physical event. But it would not be Ars Electronica if we wouldn't try to also travel to places that maybe some of us haven't yet visited, such as Tequila in Mexico or Auckland in New Zealand. The long-standing cooperation with the Chilean Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as well as the Cultural Ministry, allows us again to include and present institutions from Chile, as well as individual artists, representing their communities within the festival program. But it's not just international partners, we also have local partners, such as the Upper Austrian Broadcasting Association, that we're currently developing a project with, which we will announce at a later stage. The diversity in our network and the enthusiasm of our partners is the proof that cooperation, such as Ars Electronica has been developing from the very first moment, is key and not just desirable, but necessary in order to tackle the topics and the issues of today. So the Ars Electronica Festival will again go on a journey to the committed communities that not only talk about what needs to be done, but already start actively developing projects and implementing concrete ideas, actions and solutions that might save our planet and hopefully our future as well. That means the festival is a call to action. A call to action to address our problems, to do whatever it takes to tackle them, as many initiatives and individuals around the world do already so every single day. But how can you experience the festival in this so-called hybrid form of what Veronika already mentioned before? I think that's something that has not been only occupying us, but actually partners and institutions from around the world. And what makes a great online experience? This is something that we have been trying to understand ever since the last festival, and especially in the winter months. We have been testing different tools and techniques that allow online interaction and that allow us to bring this experience of a festival experience into the digital realm. On the one hand, many more people should be able to access the programs of the festival, and that means that we need to have a barrier-free technical approach that allows everyone, no matter where they are around the world, to become a part of the festival. So what does it mean? Hybrid online formats, virtual interactive mediation. This is not just something that we are developing at the moment, but that actually so many people around the world have their own take on. And we're inviting all of you to use the festival as a testing ground, as a ground for experimentation that allows you to see whether the tools you have been using, whether the methods you have been engaging allows for a real interaction online and in a hybrid form. Ars is not one, but the sandbox for innovation, and especially the innovative use of interactive tools, the testing of new mediation concepts, and the development of hybrid formats. The ambitious goal is to become a role model of what an international festival can look like in the 21st century. And with that, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think what we see again is that a tradition of Ars Electronica Festival is still holding up. The idea that the festival is a work in progress. The festival is the ideal place for experimentation by bringing people together with any types of means. And the metaphor again this year is the gardens. Gardens means these are not only satellites who are connected on the network, but each of the satellites is actually responsible to make physical, real program on site with real artists for real audiences. And this is what we call the gardens, and our chief garden officer, so to say, Martin Honzik, who is responsible for all the festival and exhibition operations here at Ars Electronica, has been developing, based on the experience from last year's festival, now a very interesting and I think very good and efficient framework how to organize these many partnerships. And this is something I would like you to explain to us.
Thank you very much, Gerfried, and also for this very interesting introduction to the festival that we have in front of us. So as we've heard, there are a number of motivations that have confirmed our decision to revisit the last year's method of running the festival. I can remember pretty good seeing you, Gerfried, standing here in the same space, more or less at the same time last year, trying to announce what a festival might be in times of last year's. And so ironic and poetic, normally the words Gerfried is using are coming together. He was using this term of we are in a fog ride. And we have already reported how true and unironic this statement was, and in this retrospect. Although the situation seems comparable, but it is different. Different in the relationships between theory and practice. The experiences, needs, and learnings of the past year have led us to try and not to wait and see, but to professionalize ourselves in the situation. With the idea of expanding the Ars Electronica Festival even further into a platform, we are preparing a festival that remains at its core a festival of digital culture and media arts, but offers itself to society as a place where the overall social dialogue about our future can take place. So we will face a festival as a place where overall social dialogue about our future, our relationship to each other, to technology, and to our nature and environment is critically discussed, and where we try to make it possible to experience the innovative potential of a new culture of collaborating in order to contribute to mastering the essential global challenges that we are going to face as a society. This is where we see our cultural mission and our social role. So how can you join this journey? How can you jump on this platform and leave your footprint? How can you become a partner? We have prepared several approaches and gates, as Christl already mentioned, but 3 of them I'd like to present to you. If you're interested in the rest and also in that what I'm going to present to you now, please go to our website. Home delivery service is this new format where we present our new services in the state of hybrid. Are you interested in taking over the responsibility of becoming a gardener of Ars Electronica? Working for me as chief garden officer of Ars Electronica. This is an offer that addresses everybody that is interested in the topics of Ars Electronica itself, but also interested in a common future. This program is addressed to the art world, but also far, far beyond, to all who want to participate in the global discussion about our future. From the artist to the cultural association, to the cultural institution, from the university to the research institution, from the small and medium-sized entity until the industries and everybody, I forgot, including this. Through this active form of participation, you and your own program will become an immanent part of the program of the festival and an integral part of the Ars Electronica network, which has existed for more than 40 years. You will benefit directly from its public perception, its communication strategies and its PR work, but also in order to make yourself the direct and exclusive beneficiary of the in-depth topics of the festival itself, and at the end to profit on your own for your own sake. If you're interested, please send your request to the festival website. We will answer very quickly. we love to answer your request, and we would love to see you as being part of this endeavor. Secondly, now to another program, currently developed just online, but as a hybrid format, aimed to the young media artists in the educational context. Still our last year in the post-CD 2019, the last festival before the corona, we were able to attract more than 50 international universities to come to our festival and to present themselves. Not just to present themselves, but also to present 50 different alternative perspectives on the educational aspects in the arts, with the focus of art, society, and technology. They came to the festival in order to get in exchange with themselves, come into mutual exchange and measure and align themselves with the renowned representatives of the media arts, the winners of Ars Electronica. We wanted to continuously expand and deepen this program also in Corona times. Artistic mentoring programs for higher education, online workshops and mentoring programs for higher education in the arts is the still rather technical headline of this program that we offer. The goal of this program is to prepare these artists for the big stage of their hopefully international careers, and of course for their appearance at the Ars Electronica Festival itself. And fundamentally to promote and broaden the perspective of artistic education itself. Another goal is also to offer and open up to the respective university disciplines alternative, critical and provocative and broadening perspectives on their own creative work, actions and needs. Specifically, we offer online workshops that last a whole semester and can be held as a supplement or extension to existing courses. Currently, we are doing this with K-Arts Art University in Korea. Or mentoring programs that guide and support individual students or smaller groups along their entire semester. The duration is flexible, as you heard, from an entire semester to smaller units. And who are the participating mentors? It is that we invite the internet and activate the international network of Ars Electronica, the winners of Ars Electronica, everybody being involved in the last more than 40 years. And finally, a project that is strongly related to a happening that is going on next weekend. It is the Ars Electronica jury coming together virtually next weekend, the Curators Bootcamp Art and Tech. The Curators Bootcamp was developed as a new online program to give a group of people an in-depth and exclusive insight into the world of art, technology, and future topics. The content of this program builds on the thousands of artworks currently submitted from around the world in our Ars Electronica. It focuses on those key themes that originate from digital culture and are reflected in the respective categories of the Ars Electronica itself. It places and emphasizes on where art meets other disciplines, exchanges ideas, networks, collaborates. And also where art might redefine itself and reposition itself in society as a whole. Meet the protagonists of Ars Electronica, the jury members of the Ars Electronica, the winners of the Ars Electronica, and many more, and get an exclusive, intense exchange about art and tech, art and science, art and social innovation, bioart, etc., etc. And meet the origin Ars Electronica categories, such as hybrid art, interactive art, computer animation, and digital musics. This online program is aimed to curators and those who work in the nexus between art and technology, or who want to explore and deepen this nexus for themselves. University professors, designers, media artists, etc., etc., who is interested, you are welcome. The first online program will start in summer. We will announce this soon on our website. If you are interested, don't hesitate, contact us. The Ars Electronica Garden Team.
So with these very engaging and inspirational words, and of course this overview of really a huge area of new activities and programs that we have been starting recently and that will lead us, I think, in a very good way towards the festival. We are concluding now the streaming part of this event. So the streaming on YouTube and Facebook will be terminated, but please stay connected on Zoom for the Q&A session. Give us about maybe 20 to 30 seconds to reconfigure our lines, and then we will be happy and ready to answer your questions, to talk with you in the Zoom conference. So goodbye to the streamers and welcome to the Zoomers. In 30 seconds, please.